Hey guys, Chicken and Maine, aka Deboo, with a YouTube video forecast update. This forecast update effective around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. And okay guys, we always like to start off by welcoming new followers and thanking old ones, and by letting you know that we are primarily a surf and marine forecaster covering the North Atlantic waters. We are looking for weather patterns and or systems that produce high seas and or high surf. You can't have high surf without high seas. During hurricane season, we are tracking tropical cyclones. We are now inside of 60 days now for the official start of the 2021 Atlantic tropical cyclone season. And if you've been following along, it's been about 30 days now that we started looking for the first annual signs of the atmospheric switch over to tropical season. We typically start looking for those signs on an annual basis right around end of February, 1st of March, and there are several things that we look for. One is vorticity spin in the Gulf of Mexico around the Tampico area. Once you start to see spin coming off along fronts into February, into March, that's one of the first signals that the atmosphere is beginning to switch over towards tropical. Another is Sal outbreak, and we've had 2 or 3 nice size Sal outbreaks over the last 30 to 45 days. And then the last thing that we look for is for temperature change down at the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula and the northwest tip of Cuba. When you start to see temperatures rise in the lower 90s to mid 90s on a daily basis, you know the warm up is beginning. The atmosphere is going to warm up there first and then warm the water up. And then as the season progresses, that heat begins to spread on out. Lots to talk about in today's video update. I hope you'll stay tuned in for all of it. Gonna start you off with some real-time visible satellite imagery. And it's been about 7 days, I think, today, since we posted the dials, the volume dials cranked up to 11. And this is an indicator to you guys. What I'm trying to communicate to you is that we're fixing to crank it up. And we don't use this all often, but when we do see a weather pattern or weather systems that the models are potentially showing, and we get a little bit of confidence in what we're seeing, we like to post this to kind of give you the heads up that we're fixing to crank it up. So showing you back to the visible satellite imagery, we've got this gale that has developed last couple of days in here that is east-southeast of Newfoundland, and we have a new gale that's developing just east of the mid-Atlantic, and that's going to pull up in here to Nova Scotia. We'll show you that in the models in just a few moments, but just so you can verify, this is 12Z GFS in real time for right now. So what you're looking at in the model is the same thing that you're looking at in the satellite imagery. We've got this gale east-southeast of Newfoundland and this new one that's developing right here that's going to pull up into Nova Scotia. Now that's going to get up in here right along the coast and likely stall or become stationary. Now I want you to think about this with me. These two features are going to be with us for 7 days. This feature here is going to end up breaking down and getting absorbed in the larger overall footprint or envelope of this system. And as this system moves off towards the east, this system is also going to move off towards the east. It's going to absorb the two. And just like we saw the last couple of days with the Fujiwara effect, with 2 vorticity spins rotating around with each other, we just saw that. And then now we're going to watch the same thing here, is that a couple areas of low pressure are going to spin up within this envelope and then again absorb whatever gets left of this. So there's high confidence over the next 6 to 7 days of what is actually going to play out. And it is past the 6 or 7 day mark where some question marks start to come in. Now, I've recognized the pattern, and there is the possibility of a major swell event setting up off the East Coast. Now, this is a big swell event. This gale that is east-southeast of Newfoundland has already got swell in the water heading for the Eastern Caribbean. So this thing is spinning like this, and it's putting northeast swell in the water this way. This is the front that passed yesterday. And so we've got northerly flow like this behind the front, and then we now have an area of low pressure. So the pressure gradient between here is starting to tighten up. So we have two northerly swell sources on the backside of this low and high pressure digging in, and then we've got northerly swell coming off this gale right here. And again, looking at the current GFS, you can see the area of low pressure here spinning. Now, we've been talking about this high pressure block up in here in the North Atlantic. And you can see here's the high pressure block right here. And so it's pushing down on this area of low pressure and refusing to let it go off in its natural flow of things. The natural flow this time of year coming across the United States is from the west to the east, up into the North Atlantic. Well, because of this blocking high that's developing right now, it's trapping these two areas of low pressure, and they're going to be here for the next 6 to 7 days. Okay, I'll run you through the 12Z GFS. This is today. Keep in mind, guys, it's one run of more to come. It's one model. The European model is showing something different. I'm hoping that as this video goes on, maybe the 12Z Euro will come out. It's 140 right now. I might have time-stamped this video to start at 2 o'clock, but we'll see what happens. So I'll advance the model for you. And again, notice that area of low pressure that spins up right there off the coast of Nova Scotia. That's a 981 millibar area of low pressure. And then that gale that is east-southeast of Newfoundland, setting up a double barrel low right there inside of probably 48 hours. And then you'll notice that above the two areas of low pressure, this is east-southeast in here. And this is really negative swell production for areas that are going to be south of the Outer Banks, other than the fact that there's already swell in the water from what's happening in real time. But as we advance the model for you, notice how things start to get stretched out. That North Atlantic blocking high refusing to let these areas of low pressure pass. Now, as we advance the model, now look what happens now. The natural flow begins to open up. And then you get that absorption of the load that I told you that's back here on the back side of this now. But look what happens. This thing starts to swing open the door. And now that easterly flow here is now making its way past Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. So this becomes a positive swell production in here. And then the other positive to this is the size, the overall size of the area of low pressure. This has got a fairly large footprint, so it's moving more volume of water. Now look back over here over the central United States. Yet another big rainmaker right there for the central United States. But what's the rule of thumb? The rule of thumb is always watch tail ends of fronts along stalled or dying fronts for an area of low pressure to develop. So we've got northerly swell in the water now at present, and then in about 4 to 5 days when this low starts to pull away from the coast here, opening up more northeast fetch for more inbound northerly swell coming. And then we'll advance the model some more for you, and then that area of low pressure begins to break down as it moves into Canada. And then look, still more northeast fetch, but the pressure gradient begins to tighten up. This is ground swell developing in here. Now we've got something going, okay? And so now we've got pre-existing northeast ground swell in the water, and then as we advance the model some more, look off the Outer Banks. We begin to get low pressure development east of the Outer Banks. Now this is around day 10. The models for the last 3 days has been pushing everything back to around day 10, so it's suspect at the moment, but the pattern is there, guys. And if we get pre-existing northeast ground swell going like we're talking about, and then another area of low pressure to develop east of the Outer Banks, give it a second here, and then here it comes right there. So now that's going to take that northeast swell that's already in the water and then magnify by this area of low pressure developing. We could get in a situation where we're going to have waves for days and days and days, guys. Now, obviously, there's going to be some winds in the factor. Check your local forecaster is all I can tell you. I'm just showing you the pattern and what's about to go down. There's high confidence in this right here as far as another area of low pressure coming. Where it sets up off the East Coast, we don't know yet. This energy that's right here that you're looking at is more than likely in the North Pacific, Gulf of Alaska, and then our partial energy to it from what you saw that was over central United States. And then that's going to be working its way into the United States over the next 5 days or so, 6 days. So there's a lot coming up in the forecast that we're going to be paying attention to. And again, we back the model back up. We're going to be talking about these two areas of low pressures for at least the next 5 to 7 days. All right, I'm going to switch you over to the latest WaveWatch 3. All right, so for those who are not aware, the WaveWatch 3 has now been incorporated to the GFS. So whatever the GFS is showing, it's going to show the exact same thing, but in swell periods and sea and wave height in the WaveWatch 3. So you can't take it as the gospel, because there's the European model, the Icon, and the CMC that, you know, all have their own idea too. So WaveWatch 3 now mirrors the GFS in the forecast. So here it is right here, and this is going back 72 hours now. That is prior to the gale that is east-southeast of Newfoundland, and obviously prior to the gale that's getting ready to develop now, possible storm off Nova Scotia. We'll have to see what happens in real time on that, but I'll advance the model for you, and then look east-southeast of Newfoundland. Look at that low pressure starting to come together now, and then that's what's producing some ground swell that's heading for the Eastern Caribbean. The red the area right there, red shades indicate seas into the, you know, maybe 15 to 18 foot range. The green and yellow, 8 to 10. But you can see that that's driving towards the south. And then look off east of the United States or off the East Coast. That's that high pressure wind swell surge that's combining with that. So that makes two sources with northerly swell component, okay? And then we'll advance the model for you some more. That gale still producing high seas, okay? And then, but now the swell direction kind of changes. Remember we talked about how the blocking high is setting up east-southeast winds? Okay, so that's east-southeast winds over that gale that's just east-southeast of Newfoundland, and then this other gale that's coming off Nova Scotia. Look at that northwest swell and northerly swell that's headed for Puerto Rico. Advance the model some more for you, and then here is where that low starts to sweep out here, and then there it is, that dive, right? Okay, and so that opens up that northeast fetch, and then here comes this northeast fetch opening up right in here, right there. And now that's going to be some ground swell that's going to get produced, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some 15 to 18 foot seconds make it down into South Florida. I don't know what size is going to be there yet. You guys know the routine. We'll go into a buoy watch and check the buoy trends, but I'll advance the model some more for you. Now watch. Now that's a wide, we just talked about how big of an area that low is covering. I always like to compare size of storms to coins. You got a dime, you got a nickel, you got a quarter, and you got a 50-cent piece. Well, listen, that right there is a 50-cent piece. It's very rare that you'll get a silver dollar, but it's possible. But that's moving a wide area of seas and putting ground swell in the water. We'll advance the model some more for you. And then look at the rotation of that. Now this is sea height and direction. Look east of the Outer Banks now. So we've got east-northeast swell coming out of the North Atlantic, and now that's going to start to push into east of the Outer Banks as another area of low pressure starts to develop. And there is the opportunity for possible major swell event coming, because that's going to magnify the incoming northeast swell that's coming. So take this video for now. I'm going to let the 12Z Euro load up, and I'll probably cut another video later on this evening. So stay tuned for the next update.